Hello, hello, one and all. Welcome to OM Expat. Welcome again. And if you were here for the last recording that I had, I still have a little, well, not really a terrible cold, but I'm still getting over the cold. So again, if I have to take a 5 second break, please do understand the reason why. But welcome back to Om Expat. And as mentioned, I wanted to get into this new system that I also, I knew it was coming. However, I believe that maybe a lot of people might not be aware of it. For those who are not constantly reading the news or in the news or reading newspapers on things, and that is the EES and the European Union entry and exit system. That the new border management system that they're going to be putting in place starting in October. Yes, it starts next month. Um, so I wanted to just briefly just go over a little more on this. Let me know, by the way, how you feel about this. I know this is a new channel, so there aren't a lot of subscribers as yet, but I'm assuming going forward or in the future, perhaps many people will discover this channel. And I would be really curious to know how you guys feel about this here. I have my little feelings about it, and but it looks as though we're not going to be able to avoid it. So let me get into what that it is. The European Union exit and entry system, known as the EES, as mentioned, is a new border management system that will be rolled out starting in October. This rollout, by the way, was originally planned for 2023, but for whatever reason there were delays, and maybe COVID got in the way, because travel was restricted, so perhaps they felt as though they didn't need to work on it back then, but it was originally planned to roll out in 2023. And here we are in 2025, and it's happening next month. The EES will change how travels, including US citizens, enter and exit the EU Schengen area. This system will be especially important to non-EU nationals. And I do have clients that are going to be visiting Europe perhaps for the very first time this year end and next year. And so listen up. And so it's especially important to non EU nationals who don't need a visa for short stays, like US passport holders, um, Canadian holders, and Australian, UK, etc. So here is an overview of what this EES will entail. Okay. So, well, maybe first I should define what it is. So again, the EES is a entry and exit system. It is a EU-wide digital border control system that will track the entry and exit of non-EU nationals. It's designed to enhance border security, improve efficiency, and manage the flow of travelers into and out of the Schengen area, and that is the EU area. The EES will replace the current manual passport stamps, which I will probably miss. Well, I don't need it, but I am, as a traveler, I enjoy also collecting stamps and watching and going back, reminiscing on the stamps. Um, so if you are someone like myself, you will miss that. And so it will replace the current manual passport stamping at the borders and introduce a biometric data capture. Now, I know a lot of people, like myself, have had issues with this biometric stuff, but yeah, it's going to be introduced, and very few people will be able to escape it. This means that travelers will no longer get their passports physically stamped when they enter and exit the Schengen area. And this includes their area. Instead, what those travelers will get is a biometric data fingerprint and facial recognition. Uh, this will be collected, and the system will automatically track their movements. So, yes, more tracking will be introduced. So, this is the reason why I want to really get your feedback on this. Tell me how you feel about it. So, and I might maybe do a live on this. I'm really curious to get some feedback. So, the key features of the EES. So, as mentioned, biometric data collection, fingerprint scans, facial recognition, facial image will be taken at entry and exit points. The data will be stored in a centralized EU database, and it will track your stay in the Schengen area and ensure you comply with the 90-180 rule, meaning 90 days within any 180 period within the EU. Okay? So if you're in the EU, it's any 90 days within a 180-day period that you will not have, to have a visa for Americans, Canadians, and so on, as mentioned. So here's another key feature: digital entry exit records. Instead of manually stamping passports, as I mentioned, the system will create a digital record of your arrival and departure. This means it means the process of entering and leaving is more efficient. It's less prone to human error as well, and travelers will be given a unique travel record number. So make sure you get that when you enter, or if you enter the EU area anytime after October and after. Enhanced security, enhanced border security. The EES will help identify individuals who overstay their allowed time in the Schengen area by comparing entry and exit data. This will help authorities again enforce that 90-180 rule for visa free travelers. That 90-180 rules is you are able to be in the Schengen area for 90 days within an 180-day period without any visas. Um, when we had the issues with different administrations in the US, um, you've had talk about removing that 90-day visa free travel to Europe. However, that was not done. So you are able to come to Europe for up to 90 days. And yeah, and I hope many are going to take advantage of it. And if you are a client of mine, of course, you will take advantage of that. Um, so, because as mentioned, there are discounted travels that you will have access to, all of that stuff. So there will be no excuses. Um, Here's another key feature: new requirements for travelers. And travelers will need to register at the system upon entry and exit. Non EU nationals who are visa exempt will have their travel data stored, but US citizens and others from visa waiver countries will not need a visa to enter. And I hope you get that. That has to do with all travelers. However, if you're from the US or other visa waiver countries, you do not need to enter the data in the system. Um, right? And then another key feature is that they're hoping that this will be faster, more efficient at border crossings. And the EES is designed to make border checks faster and more efficient, particularly for frequent travelers. Um, I'm wondering if this will be very efficient for those who are twins. You know, if you are an identical twin, I wonder what's going to happen there. But it's going to be quite interesting to see um, how this biometric is going to work and facial recognition. I do hope there'll at least be a backup system. And so another key feature will be integration with the ETIAS system, the ETHIS system. And it will work, the EES will work alongside the European Travel Information and Authorization System, also known as ETIAS, ETHIS, and it's essentially an a uh, electronic authorization for visa exempt travelers, and this is required when traveling in that Schengen area. So this will not, I know a lot of people will be uncomfortable with some of these things here, with the biometric part of it, but unfortunately, you will not be able to escape it. Now, ETIAS will launch in 20, it was launched in 2025, or these updates. And once both systems are up and running, travelers will need to apply for the ETIAS, which is um, it's similar to the US ESTA. So before visiting the EU, you will be processed through the EES when you arrive, and that's going to be very important. Now, what does this mean for US citizens? No visa required. US citizens do not need a visa to stay up to 90 days in the Schengen area. But under the EES system, you will have to submit biometric data the first time, and it's stored. So that will be the fingerprints and the facial image at the border at entry. Now, in the beginning, they said that that may not have been necessary, but now it looks as though it will be necessary. Um, uh, Once again, there will be entry and exit tracking to see who will overstay their visa, and the EES will automatically track when you enter and when you leave the Schengen area. So you wouldn't need a stamp in your passport. This is especially useful for ensuring compliance with that 90-180 rule. And again, that rule allows you to spend up to 90 days in the Schengen area within a 180-day period. Um, Now, the ETIAS requirements, starting in 2025, it's already there. You will also need to apply for an ETIAS authorization to travel to the EU. If you are a US citizen, you have to do that. This will be similar to the US ESTA system that is already in place, and this is whereby you will fill out an online application and you will receive approval before you travel. More efficient processing, they're hoping to achieve that with this bio data collection, and to make border crossing more efficient, faster, especially for repeated travelers. And now this, as mentioned, this data is going to be stored for a few years. So you wouldn't have to keep doing it over and over again. So why is this being implemented, one would ask? First, it's for security. The EU wants to improve border security by accurately tracking who enters and exits the Schengen area, which will help combat terrorism, human trafficking, and irregular migration. I actually think this is going to be really good for human to catch human traffickers, um, because what they do is that they will bring the girls in, and then they will be lost in the population. Um, I'm curious to know how they are going to be tracking persons. I know that they'll have the biometric data, but how would you be able to track someone if they are not at a particular point where biometric is used again? So, does that mean that there'll be other places, maybe as we enter into a supermarket unknown to us, maybe we'll be, there'll be bio tracking device? These are questions that I would have, because if it is to track, as they say, human traffickers and uh, migrants and that sort of thing, um, one would, I would assume that, wait a minute, I would assume if someone is being trafficked, they would be in the new country where they were trafficked to, and kind of will probably live under the radar. So how would they be able to find the trafficked persons? But let's see what happens. Perhaps, as mentioned, this is going to be rolled out not just at the border, but elsewhere as well. So they're hoping also, they've implemented this to increase efficiency, to streamline, automate the process of entry, and and keeping records, that sort of thing. They're hoping that it will reduce wait time and to make the process more seamless. Let's see if that will happen. Um, they're also hoping to, or the objective here, they're hoping to enforce travel limits, and the system will ensure travelers don't overstay again that 90 days. So it's going to be interesting to see. The timeline is really, they're ready with this, and it's going to be rolled out next month. So if you are planning to come to Europe in for the holidays, please be aware you'll need to get this done. How will it affect your travel plans? Let me know in the comments section. It's being rolled out right now, so I'm really curious to know how this is going to actually affect your travel plans. How do you feel about this data being stored? Are you okay with facial recognition, biometric data being left or being collected in a foreign country? Um, yeah, what questions do you have on this? So I'm really curious to know. This is the kind of thing that I wish we had a lot more subscribers, because it would be wonderful to get feedback on this. Um, I do have my concerns. However, it looks as though it's going to be rolled out, whether or not we have concerns about any kind of intrusion, um, or data breach. So let me know what you think in the comments section. Thank you again for being with us at OM Expat. If you are interested in relocation services, please do not hesitate to contact us. Our contact information is in the description box. Thanks again for joining us, and we are looking forward to having you again as a part of this great big group that we're hoping to build, whereby we are going to be supporting each other on our journey. Have a fabulous and fantastic week. Thanks again. Bye bye.